Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we'll be learning how to make this beautiful handkerchief skirt. So for this skirt I used 3 yards of fabric, and I would strongly advise, if you're about to get your fabric, please get a fabric that is soft, that falls very well. So going to the drafting, I'll be using my hip circumference for the waist because there will be an elastic on the waist. So for the elastic to come together, I'll be using our hip instead of our waist. So my hip measurement is 39. I'll be dividing my hip by 6.28 to get the radius for the waist. So 39 divided by 6.28 to get the radius for my waist measurement. So now I got 6.2 and the length of my skirt is 22 inches. So I'm going to be adding the 6.2 plus the length of my skirt to be able to know what I'll be folding. So the total I got was 28. So whenever I'm folding my fabric now, I'm going to be using 28 to fold it. I can add 1 inch because of the folding at the hem, which is 29. So now I'm just going to be folding the fabric. Now notice the way I folded it. The part at the top that I folded is the length of the fabric, where you can see by 60 by 40 depending on how many the fabric is by. Then the longer part is the yardage. So here is the by 60 of the fabric, while here is the yardage of it. So I folded it this way. Now I'm going to fold it again just like this. I'll just make it a bit clearer for you to see. So I'm trying to measure what I have there to make sure that it is more than 29 with at least 30 to add like 1 inch to it in case of incasity. So now I just have to bring it this way so that you see it clearly. So now this part I'll unfold. Now you see the way I folded it. So I'm going to be adding my waist circumference, which is 6.2. I'm just going to mark it all the way around. Now I'm going to go up by half an inch for the joining of the waistband, because there will be a waistband there. So I'm going to separate what I'm going to be using for my waistband. I'll first of all measure my elastic to know how many it is. The elastic I have here is 2 inches. So I'm going to be separating 2 inches and I will place it at the half an inch from there. And then I'll mark the 22 inches for my skirt. I marked the 22 inches at this part, this edge, and then marked it at this other edge again. Now what I'll do now is to rule a straight line from this 22 inches to this edge, and then rule another straight line from this 22 inches to meet this edge. It's like you are making a peplum, but you are not going round to make it equal. So this is what we're just doing to get the handkerchief effect. Now I'm going to be cutting out the circumference. Now we've already gotten the handkerchief skirt. If you don't want to add that peplum at the top, you can just add your waistband and elastic at this point and just rock your skirt that way. But I'll be adding the peplum at that top. I'm trying to get the sharp edge to use for the center front of my skirt, so I had to notch it to be sure of the sides and then the center front. Now I'm going to be measuring around my waist. You know, once you've already cut out the peplum, sometimes the waist increases. So I'm going to measure around to know what I'll be cutting out from my band. So I had 21.5. I'm just going to take my fabric now and cut out, first of all, that part that we use, that's additional peplum is just a straight fabric. Now this fabric is folded into two. The straight fabric, please, it shouldn't be too wide. I think mine was a bit too wide. I had to cut out from it and it was still a bit wide. So I'll suggest you use like 8 inch or 7 inch for yours. So initially I used about 11, but I had to cut out to make it 8 inches to get the final one. So this is just the straight fabric we are cutting for that external peplum that is on top of the handkerchief skirt. So I didn't measure what I used. I just folded the fabric on the by 60 and then I folded it in two. So the middle is folded into two. This is it. This is one of it, and then the other one there. So one is for the front and one will be for the back. You can just notch the middle and sew from one side to the other, then sew from one side to the other. Notch the middle of your skirt as well, notch the side, so you sew from one side to the other, sew from the other middle side to the other, so you don't miscalculate. Then the excess that is going to be off, make sure that you use your sewing machine to fold it in so you don't have rough edges, and then you fold the bottom part of it as well. So I'm just trying to mark what I divided the waist into 4. I'm just trying to mark where I'm going to sew to before I fold the remaining parts inside and fold the under. So now I'm just going to pin down what I want to sew. I'm first of all going to pin it down before going to the sewing machine to sew it. I'll also pin the one for the back as well, because it's going to be under before you put your band. And after pinning it, I'm going to fold the excess that is going to extend outside. I'm going to fold it in my sewing machine so that there will be no rough edges. So that is it, the extension. I'm going to fold it in. Then the bottom part, I'm also going to fold it. I'll also go ahead to fold the bottom part of my skirt as well. So now for the band, I'm going to be using 3 inches for the wideness of my band. Now this fabric is into 2, so which means I'm cutting out 3 inches, but it's going to be 6 inches. Now I'll measure what I have for my waist measurement that I measured, and then I added extra ½ inch for the joining. Now this is what I'm going to be doing. The place that I fold, I want to iron it so that I will have the middle line. I'm going to sew it like this, sew one part of the band, but for the other part I'm going to sew it, and when I get to the midpoint I will leave a space. Let's say I sew this way. When I get to this midpoint, I'm going to leave a space of about ½ inch. Then I'll continue and sew it. So I've gone ahead to sew it, and this is what I meant when I said I was going to sew it. This is the hole I'm going to be leaving, because I'm going to be putting my rope through it. But if you don't want to bring out your rope through it, you want to put it for fancy, you can just stitch it close and then you press your rope with your sewing machine. So now I'm going to sew it round like this with my sewing machine first of all, then I'll come back. So I've gone ahead to sew that. Now this is what I have. I'm going to go ahead now, fold this in to cover it neatly. I'll push in that rough edge in and sew it, but I'm going to leave a little space where I'll be passing my elastic through. So I'll leave a tiny space where I'll be passing my elastic through. So I'll just go ahead and sew it around and leave a space. I've gone ahead now to pass my elastic, and there was a tiny hole there which I left open. This is where I passed my elastic through. Now I'm just going to cover this. So after covering this, I will go and put this rope inside. Now this rope, all you have to do is to cut a strip of fabric, fold it this way and sew it down. That is just it to get your rope. Now I'm going to cover the part where I passed the elastic through. I've gone ahead to cover it. Now that hole that is open is where my rope is going to pass. But first of all, I will sew the space for the elastic and the rope. I'm going to be separating it. Now I will go up first of all and sew like ½ inch round, and make sure that you are dragging your elastic when you are sewing. Drag it very well. So make sure that you drag it when you are sewing. I'll sew the first one, and then I'll go ahead and leave a space in the middle, then go to the bottom part as well and sew about ½ inch away from that middle part. Make sure that there is enough space for the rope to pass through. If you notice, I'm just sewing like ½ inch from the band to that part. I'm not going all the way to the up. Now that I'm done sewing, I'm just going to put my rope in the safety pin, and then I'll pass it all around through the middle part, that hole that we left, and we're just going to pass it through the middle part that we separated from the sewing of the elastic. We're just going to pass it all through, and then we are done. This skirt it doesn't take much time to make, but I'll suggest if you are making it, use a fabric that is soft and drapey. This fabric I bought was a bit hard, so it didn't really flow as much as I wanted, but it came out well. And for that upper part, the peplum on top, make sure that it's not too long. Make sure that it's not more than 8 inches at most. It could even be shorter than that. The shorter the finer, not the longer. So this was the final outcome of my skirt. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please, if you have any questions, kindly drop it in the comment section. Please guys, kindly like and share this video. I'll see you in my next one. Bye. Thanks for watching.